Liverpool's front three is one of the greatest in the modern era. Since 2017, Mohamed Salah, Roberto Firmino and Sadio Mane have terrorised defences from Slovenia to Stoke, Monterrey to Manchester and Burnley to Barcelona. The three have combined for 271 goals since Salah's arrival in 2017, but as time goes on, numbers will wane as the unfortunate inevitability of age catches up with them. Diogo Jota arrived last season for 43 million from Wolverhampton Wanderers, which provided much needed competition for the triad. His presence last season ensured Liverpool finished third, and without his long-term absence from December to March, we may have actually won the league. As eras dawn on, Liverpool need to evolve to ensure success under Jurgen Klopp is not limited to just 2 seasons. After spending 5 or 6 campaigns without a proper striker, in inverted commas, many are speculating whether we should sign one this summer, or maybe next. So I'm going to be profiling 5 Liverpool strikers who could fit the bill, the age profile, the system and the current squad, whilst maintaining a level of realism. Because I could go out and say, we'll sign Erling Haaland. We'll also be using Football Reference's percentile rank system. So hey, let's get into it and let's get the intro. It's been well documented in the past that target men don't often work with Liverpool. Peter Crouch is arguably the best in the modern era, although Emil Heskey should be mentioned, but Crouch himself never actually hit double figures in the Premier League for Liverpool. Sasha Kalajdzic, however, is somewhat different. His form at VfB Stuttgart last season propelled them to a top half finish in the Bundesliga, alongside Silas and Wumper. Their dynamic and exciting build-up play marked them as one of the most interesting teams to watch in the division. Under Pellegrino Matarazzo, the 2006-07 champions have excelled with Kalajdzic at the forefront, with his total amounting to 16 in the league, eclipsing his previous best of 10 whilst being in FC Admira Vacca's reserves. His skills have also translated onto the international stage, having scored 4 goals in 11 games for his native Austria. 2 of those came at Hampden Park against Scotland in the 2-2 draw in March. Would his skills translate directly into Jurgen Klopp's current Liverpool system? Probably not. Just think about how Christian Benteke was ostracised really by the Liverpool manager as soon as he identified Roberto Firmino as his number 9. But as an option, and one regularly used because of his age, Kalajdzic could offer more than Benteke did. He is in the 91st percentile for non-penalty goals, which is at 0.67 per 90, whilst also being in the 82nd and 75th percentile for progressive passes recovered and pressures, showing that his pressing game is also up to scratch for the Jurgen Klopp system. And at 6'7", it is no surprise that his aerial ability is up there with the best, sitting in the 87th percentile. However, one thing that may warn Jurgen Klopp off is his pass completion, which is at just 70.4%. He will probably be one of the cheaper options and more realistic on this list, but whether he would actually fit the bill, who knows. At number 2, we have Dushan Vladimirovic. Rumours have swirled this summer about Liverpool's potential attraction to 21-year-old Serbian Dushan Vladimirovic of Fiorentina. Having burst onto the scene aged just 20, he scored a mammoth 21 goals in Serie A last season, only bettered by Romelu Lukaku, Luis Ernesto Muriel, and of course, Cristiano Ronaldo. Liverpool's general profile seeks established younger players who've had more than one good season in a good league. Vlahovic has just had one. It could be argued that even though he did have this 21 goal campaign this season, he could slump back into the 6 goal campaign he had last season. Of course, that's unlikely. And with the amount of adulation and admirers that he has received for his performances, he could be worth at least 50 or 60 million pounds. On the day of recording, Atletico Madrid have apparently made an approach for the Fiorentina forward, but have been rejected. And why would it be logical, considering they've just loaned Moussa Dembele from Lyon and have the development of João Felix, whether he's playing as a false 9 on the left or through the middle as a number 10. Once again, his aerial win percentage is up there in the 78th percentile, and his non-penalty goals are in the 73rd. Once again, we talked about the target man argument, it comes into play. But Liverpool's evolution after Klopp leaves, or even in the twilight years of his Liverpool career, could come with that focal point. As I said, a fee of 50 or 60 million have been touted, and why not? He could be special. At number 3, you have Ollie Watkins. This is the most unrealistic option on this list, price-wise, and the fact that Aston Villa just won't sell it. However, he is probably the most suitable player to Liverpool Football Club available right now. Ollie Watkins is to Villa what Roberto Firmino is to Liverpool, but can also play wide and likely scores more goals. The caveat comes as obviously he's playing in a worse team at Aston Villa. Statistically, he doesn't have the skill to set up his teammates as much as Roberto Firmino does. He joined Villa from Brentford last season for £32 million and immediately daggered Liverpool's hearts in that tragic 7-2 defeat at Villa Park. The noticeable, exceptional stat with Ollie Watkins lie in his tackling and pressures. He tops almost anyone in the Premier League and the world with his stats. His pressures in the attacking third also sit in the 94th percentile. This is particularly important as Liverpool aim to win the ball high. He'd be almost perfect for the system that's currently deployed. In comparison, Roberto Firmino is in the 74th percentile, which is still good for attacking third pressures. Villa fans picked up on him missing maybe one too many chances last campaign, but he has shown, especially with his destructive form in the Championship for Brentford, that he really does have that clinical edge to his game. It just needs to be unlocked at each level. Firmino, however, does have superior stats in pretty much everything else apart from those pressures and the expected goals. But Watkins, a few years younger, could be moulded into the perfect replacement. He would also help solve the homegrown predicament that we have experienced this summer. But with that tax, it would probably add 10 to 15 million. He'd probably be upwards of 70 million. And worth it? Probably not. But under this manager, why not? At number 4, we have Patrick Schick. The Euros. Remember that? Many clubs fall into the trap of buying players off the back of a major tournament. Liverpool themselves made a big mistake on El Hadji Diouf in 2002 after he starred for Senegal in the World Cup. Patrick Schick is the El Hadji Diouf, the Enner Valencia, the Keylor Navas or the Aleksandar Golovin of Euro 2020. However, his name is slightly more established. Schick has been on the periphery of greatness ever since his first maraud into Europe's big leagues. He first joined Sampdoria in 2016 where he scored 11 goals to earn himself a move to AS Roma. He featured for Roma off the bench alongside Alisson in the UEFA Champions League semi-final against Liverpool. After that though, only 58 appearances, scoring just 8 goals, meaning that he was shipped to Germany. He found home there, however, with firstly a loan spell to RB Leipzig, before joining Bayer Leverkusen permanently last summer. Jurgen Klopp loves his versatility. Like Watkins, Schick can also play wide and can also play in a number 10 role. This allows the interchanging mould of Salah, Mane, Firmino and Jota to continue, whilst adding a different dimension with Schick. He also ranks in the 91st percentile for tackles in the opposing third, again similar to Firmino, but lacks the pressing guile of Ollie Watkins. He only just signed for Bayer Leverkusen this summer and they'd likely demand a big fee, but it would be really interesting to see a striker like Schick, who may not be as prolific but may turn into something prolific, come to Anfield. And finally we have Matias Cunha, the final inclusion, and out of the entire quintet, he is the least striker-like. Matias Cunha is the cheapest and probably the most likely option out of the 5 mentioned. He's versatile, can play across the front 3, and is Brazilian, which means he could join 3 of his compatriots, Fabinho, Alisson and Firmino, alongside Marcelo Pitaluga if you include him. The Hertha Berlin man may be labelled as a winger in the wide tabloid press, but 22 out of his last 50 games for Hertha Berlin and the most recent 22 have been played in a central position. He is what is known as a project player. He is nowhere near the finished article, and at 22, why would you expect him to be like that? His numbers defensively though are mouth-watering. He sits in the 96th percentile for interception, 88th for ball recovery, and 96th for fouls drawn. Also 88th for pressures and successful pressures. Also, his goal and shot creation actions are really noticeable. He sits in the 87th percentile for shot creating actions, but also ranks in the 99th percentile for defensive actions leading to goal. This is really attractive to someone like Jurgen Klopp, who likes to win the ball high. He also offers dead ball situation threat, which is something that we potentially lack. Trent Alexander-Arnold occasionally puts a free kick top bins, but it's not quite often enough. Matias Cunha offers dead ball threats from corners and free kicks, and his stats suggest that he is very successful. He would be a seamless fit into this Liverpool setup. We've already mentioned the fact he can play all 3 positions, which means he can fit in more competitions and play more minutes than any other mentioned on this list. He'd likely be available for £30 million, which is an absolute no-brainer. Go after Matias Cunha. Thank you very much for watching 5 strikers Liverpool should sign this summer. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a like below. Make sure you share the video on Twitter as well and follow us there. We'll see you in a bit.